All right, we gotta talk. I think you know something's not right here. On the one hand, we have record unemployment, a growing homeless community, businesses shutting down, tenants who can't pay their rent, and landlords who are going into mortgage forbearance. But on the other hand, the stock market has reached record high levels, housing prices are at all-time highs, and of course, the rich are getting richer than ever before. Yikes! It's the ubiquitously discussed K-shaped recovery, where two groups have a very divergent economic future. But why? Why is this happening? I'm here to tell you that today we're going to talk about some reasons for this that almost nobody's talking about. Are you listening? Most importantly, we're going to talk about what all this craziness means for you and your money and what specifically you can do to get ahead. Are you ready? But first, I have to say, it takes a ton of time to make a video like this, so click that like button and give it a K-shaped recovery. All right, let's get into it.
Subscribe.
When the illness hit and the economy started to unravel, the Federal Reserve stepped in and used various monetary policies to start injecting money right into the system. You can see right here, as shown by Fred Economic Research data, that the stock of money in the money supply has reached an all-time high. The idea is that by injecting money into the system, struggling businesses and individuals would have the liquidity they need in order to weather any hardships caused by the illness. More specifically, the Federal Reserve is attempting to increase inflation rates. In case you don't know, inflation is when the price of goods and services go up. Or in other words, the purchasing power of the dollar goes down. Now this might seem a little counterintuitive because wouldn't higher prices be bad for folks who are already struggling to pay their bills? And if you're thinking that, you're not wrong. Inflation certainly isn't a good thing for everyone. More on that in a minute. However, the idea is that the negative effects caused by a little bit of inflation are offset by the benefits of staving off deflationary pressures. You see, as bad as inflation might sound, deflation, a situation where prices for goods and services goes down, could potentially be so much worse. Deflation could kick off a feedback loop of an ever-decreasing economy, where lower prices lead to businesses having less profit, which leads to lost employment, which leads to folks having less money, which leads to even lower prices, and eventually leading to total economic ruin. Yeah, not great. So then the question becomes, alright, so they put all this money into the economy, why isn't it working? Why don't we have inflation? I will argue that it's working exactly as expected. Hear me out. A lot of people assume that money injected into the market is neutral, sort of like a warm blanket fresh out of the dryer that covers everyone equally with its supple softness and protects them from the cold. Oh, whoop, sorry, had a moment. All right, listen to this. Money doesn't work like that. How it works can be explained by something called, are you ready? The Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect is an idea that suggests money is not neutral, but instead it works more like honey being poured into a jar, uneven in how it distributes itself. At first, it's focused on the center. Then later, it spreads outward toward the edges. Or in more plain terms, the Cantillon effect suggests that those folks who are closest to the money, who can access it first, derive the largest benefit from it. Moreover, those who are furthest from the money, or who are the last to receive it, actually experience an inverse and net negative utility from the increased money supply. Okay, I know, this might be a little bit confusing. To better explain this, let's go back to a simpler time. Let's consider a very basic market where folks use gold and gold coins to pay for goods and services. And let's suppose we have a kingdom. Let's call it Cantillon's kingdom. Well, every kingdom needs a castle. There we go. Ah, what a lovely castle. And here is King Cantillon. Well, he seems to be doing all right. He's living his best life, and all in the kingdom seems to be getting on just fine. Now, let's suppose a cave nearby the castle is discovered, and they explore the cave and find gold, lots of it. And they get to work excavating the gold. Of course, everyone in the kingdom is very happy about the new gold because it can be used to buy lots of things like meat pies. I don't know, whatever luxuries folks here in this primitive kingdom desire. The point is there's lots of gold. Anyway, seeing as the cave is close to the castle, folks who live in the castle are the first to access the gold. Let's take for example this knight. We'll call him the Little Knight. Well, the Little Knight is clearly underprepared for battle. Lucky for him, he has lots of gold, and there's a nearby market complete with a blacksmith. Suddenly, the Little Knight gets an idea. He thinks, great, I will simply take some of my new gold over to the blacksmith and go invest in some quality armor. Armor, after all, is a great asset for a knight. So the little knight does just that. Armor cost 4 gold coins, which the little knight happily pays for some armor, as this now seems to be quite a bargain, considering his newfound access to gold. But it's not just the little knight who wants new armor. Soon, many other knights of the kingdom do the same thing and buy new armor from the blacksmith, of course for the price of 4 gold coins each. It's easy for every knight to buy armor because they have so much gold. Now at this point, 4 gold coins is really nothing. In fact, it's so cheap, many knights buy extra armor as backup. After some time goes by, the blacksmith notices that he cannot keep up with demand, and he realizes that he must raise prices. So the 4 coins that he's been charging for the armor goes up to 12 coins. So now armor costs 12 coins. However, most of the knights in the kingdom already have the armor they need, and they're okay with the new prices. Actually, they realize that if they want to sell some of their existing armor, they're able to do it for 12 coins now, because that's now how much armor costs. And this is kind of nice for them because they know they paid just 4 coins for the armor. Clearly, armor was a good investment. And everyone's happy, right? Not so fast. Because far away from the kingdom castle, and far away from the gold cave, living on a wheat farm, there was a peasant. Let's call this peasant Joe. Joe has always fantasized about being a knight. He knows that he can never be a real knight, but regardless of that, he dreams of owning some of his own armor someday. Actually, Joe had been saving up to buy his own armor. It took him a really long time, but he's finally reached his goal of saving up 4 gold coins. Sadly though, as Joe lives so far away from the castle, and as a result he rarely visits the market, Joe was totally unaware of the new gold and updated prices for armor. So the day finally comes, and Joe makes his trip to the castle, excited by the idea that he would finally be able to afford his own armor. And he approaches the market, finds the blacksmith, and tries to buy some armor. But Joe was sadly disappointed to find out that he was unable to buy any armor at all, because to his dismay, the price for armor had risen to 12 coins. Not only did Joe not have enough gold to buy the armor, but he only had 1/3 the required amount. Horrified, Joe gasped, "But it took me so long to save up these coins. How will I ever afford the armor now?" So hopefully that story illustrated that even though many in the kingdom were better off due to the new gold, Joe was actually much worse off as a result of what transpired. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a very simplified version of the Cantillon effect. It's why we have a K-shaped recovery and ballooning prices for real estate, stocks, and other assets. Only, in our case, instead of a gold mine, we have the Federal Reserve cranking the money press. And money is created and then injected through credit channels into the economy, meaning most new money is introduced as new debt. For example, by lowering the interest rate and making it cheaper to borrow money. Folks who are closest to the new money are those who are financially able to qualify for a loan, which are mostly individuals and businesses who already had money to begin with, because they are the ones who are best positioned to leverage the new credit. It's like this: the wealthier you were before the new money, then the more access you have now to make use of the new opportunities. For example, even having enough resources to be able to afford one new house right now to take advantage of the lower interest rates puts you in a far better position than someone who can only stand on the sidelines while watching housing prices rise. I see your brain working. So you might be wondering, well, what about the stimulus checks? Aren't those different? Don't stimulus checks get money directly to the people who need it? Yes and no. Yes, because it is a way to get money to those who would normally be the furthest away from new money, but there are a couple of problems. First of all, with stimulus, each time a check comes out, it's a small one-off payment, which in the grand scheme of things does very little for an individual, and it's nowhere near a match to the scale of what is being provided to those who can access new money through credit channels. So in this regard, it doesn't do much. But 2, also it's not a recurring source of income, nor is it a cash-producing asset. Thus, all that is likely to happen is that the money will be immediately spent, where it will roll into the hands of landlords and businesses and end up going directly into assets of those who are likely the same folks who are already leveraging the new money through credit channels. That's right, the rich still get richer. It's like multiple rivers that all lead to the same sea. Because of the impact of the Cantillon effect, as we are discussing here, you will probably soon hear some people talking about the need for some sort of recurring payment, a payment that could inject money right to the people who need it most. A universal basic income, basically a recurring and perpetual stimulus. I do believe a universal basic income would help to finally create some inflation across the full basket of goods and services within the economy. It would also help to alleviate the Cantillon effect Some. It would do this by giving regular folks access to new money before the ever-increasing upward pressure would inflate prices even further. However, even this is unlikely to solve the overall problem. And by problem, I mean regarding who stands to benefit the most from the new money. What I'm saying is the new money would eventually make its way to the richer among us, making them even richer, and the poor would ultimately continue to become even poorer. Relative to the rich anyway. The reason for this is the same reason why so many poor people who win large sums of money in the lottery end up poor again within a short amount of time. They simply lack the financial education and discipline to know how to properly invest and manage their money. They don't understand the foundational principles regarding how to put their money to work and have it make them even more money. Thus, new money created, even when injected directly into the pockets of regular folks, would flow right back into the hands of those who own assets, and it would only serve to further inflate asset prices. And here we have the true crux of the problem. New money equals asset price inflation. And boy, do we have a lot of new money right now. And look, you can see the results. Asset prices of everything are skyrocketing. Real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, you name it, it's been going up in value. It's for this reason that some folks are calling it the everything bubble. You might be wondering, why would people continue to sink their money into assets if the prices of everything are already so high? This is because of something I like to call TINA, which stands for there is no alternative. What this boils down to is if you leave your money sitting in some bank account, every day that goes by it's losing its ability to purchase assets. Meaning the same amount of money can purchase less assets with every passing day as asset prices continue to rise. So it makes sense to want to get in and buy some assets. But with everything being so expensive, there really is no other alternative than to pay the high prices, even if these assets seem overvalued. And as long as everything's going to inflate, who wants to sit on the sidelines and not only risk being priced out of the market, but also miss out on all the epic gains? Diamond hands, hold! Oh, wait, wrong story, sorry. Focus. All right, let's switch gears here a little bit and talk about what all of this means and what you should do to best position yourself within all of this to come out ahead. All right, listen to this. Let's start with what you might be thinking. I bet some of you are thinking if there really is an everything bubble, obviously it can't inflate forever, so why not just wait for it to burst and then you can come in and buy up all of the cheap assets? I get it. And certainly if you want to keep a small portion of your cash on the sidelines just in case of this event, then be my guest. But I don't think this should be your only financial strategy. Firstly, nobody knows exactly what will happen in the future. Nobody knows how soon or how deep the next decline will be. By sitting on the sidelines, you risk missing out on getting the ball rolling with building your wealth. All of this, and there is no guarantee that this strategy will even work in your favor. So I think the best thing to do is to understand the system as we've defined it here in this video and use it to your advantage. What I mean is work to get closer to the gold mine, not by physically moving, but with buying assets. Do what you can to buy assets that will generate you cash flow, be it stocks or real estate or perhaps building a solid business. Whatever you end up doing, you'll want to do your research and be smart about it. And do not over leverage. I made a video about how much debt is too much debt, so you should watch that video next. But with regard to investing your money, you'll need to make sure that you have a long-term perspective when considering these assets. Trying to get rich quickly rarely works out for folks. It's far better to have a longer time horizon built into your plan. You should buy assets that you plan to hang on to for at least 5 to 10 years. And make sure you can afford to hold on to these assets in the event that things should ever take a turn for the worst. If you do that, you will almost certainly come out ahead in the long run, regardless of what happens in the near future, bubble or not. The key here is financial education and understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. And to be disciplined about your progress, budget, and spend your money wisely, putting as much as you can toward obtaining cash-producing assets. Those with assets, especially those who can hang on to these assets through any downturn while continuing to buy more assets, are truly those who will end up on the top side of the K. These are the folks who will end up rich and continue to build more wealth over time. Okay, if you got some value out of this, please be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video, and until then, you guys are awesome.